All right, so today we're going to learn about brakes. And what we've got here is we've got a Toyota front brake system. Brakes are here. Brakes are used to stop the vehicle. They change kinetic energy, which is movement, into heat. Okay? So when a vehicle's moving down the road, the wheels are moving, and when the wheels are moving, this device is moving. This is called a brake rotor. Okay? Big, thick piece of metal that looks like a plate. All right? So the rotor's moving, and when you want to stop the rotor, all you got to do is squeeze it. So that's what the brake caliper does. This is a brake caliper, and these are the brake pads. The brake caliper and the brake pads work together to squeeze the rotor. The caliper stays put, it doesn't go around at all, but then the rotor slows down. And if you learned in science that energy is never created nor destroyed, it actually isn't in a car either. It's just movement energy that changes to heat energy. How does it work? It uses friction, and if you take like your thumb, for example, and you push it down on the desk kind of hard and you move it down across the desk, that's going to be kind of hot, right? And so that's what happens here, is we take the movement out of the rotor and we create heat with it. So one of the neat designs about a disc brake engineering is that it takes air and channels it right through the hot stuff. And there's even venting right here on the rotor, which I'll show here in a minute even better. Okay? So this vehicle has the pads on the inside right here, and how do you know what's the pads? It's this black part right here. This is the pad backing plate, this is the pad, and this is the rotor. Okay, what's that? Pad, backing plate, rotor. Okay, so now you can see the rotor spinning. Right? The pads don't move until you, the driver, step on the brakes. Okay? It squeezes the pads together like a clamping. Pads wear. Okay? Rotors wear. And calipers get old and they need replacement. The pads will need replacement between 45,000 and 90,000 miles, generally speaking. Rotors don't usually get replaced every time, but it depends on your driver. If you've got a vehicle that uses the brakes every minute of every day, stop and go driving, and it's heavy because he's added all these toolboxes or he's towing a trailer, he's going to wear through brakes and rotors. We can measure the rotors to determine whether they're good or not, and we can visually check them to see too. That's more part of in a more advanced automotive class. All right, so let's take a look over at this other vehicle. All right, so over here we have another Toyota, and this one you can see the rotor a little bit better. It's nice. This one actually has been used recently. Again, there's the caliper, so notice just another design. All right, and now we're going to go over here. Okay, so now over here the brake rotor is actually disassembled. So here's a brake rotor, kind of heavy. Okay, it's got holes here for airflow so that you can cool it down. It has two sides, one, two, right, that are machined. And when I say machined in automotive, I'm saying surgically machined. These two are within perfection of each other down to a half of 1,000th of an inch. They're parallel, and as you can see, they're a nice clean surface. When is a rotor bad? When these surfaces are compromised, when they are broken, when they are too thin and they can't dissipate heat well. Okay, there's actually a specification. I don't know if you can zoom into this area right here. It says MIN period TH-29 millimeters. By law, every rotor has to have some kind of specification put on it, or you can look it up online, and we have an all data online system. Okay. So that specification means how thick is this supposed to be? Minimum. And if we measure it and it's at 31 millimeters, then we're safe. Okay? The government decides when is this unsafe. Okay. So let's step over here. This vehicle is getting brake pads. And it's getting brake pads because they were worn down. Here's an example of a brake pad. Okay? And here is an example of the exact replacement brake pad, and you can see the difference in thickness. So, and this little channel right here is just to help with heat dissipation and also with vibration. It's important to note that you never want to touch this surface or set your brake pad down on anything except for a clean cloth or a piece of paper. If you have food or crumbs or anything on a bench, or you have oil, anything, just don't set your brake pad down. If you accidentally do, you'll have to use brake clean spray to get it off, okay? These brake pads were measured to determine that they were bad with our tool that we have here. It's sort of a go, no-go situation. So this is bad, this is soon, and then this is good, okay? So here we have a brake pad, and we measure, and you can see that on the side right there, those two are about a match, right? And somewhere maybe you're like right there or right there. And you can look on the side of this, and it's actually 3 millimeters. It says it right there, okay? So you can write that on a work order. If I ever ask you to check for brakes, you can check the brake pads, and you can say, well, I can tell you right now that that brake pad is at 12 millimeters. Great. All right. So that's how to check brake pads using a tool. You can buy these for about $7, pretty much any store online. We don't use the guess method, but we also don't take every vehicle completely apart just to check brakes, because that would be very expensive. And brake checks around shops are free. So we can't be doing stuff for free, like taking brakes all apart like this one. You have to actually look at them in the car while the caliper is placed, like the first example of that Toyota. So let's go back over there and do that one more time before we end the video. Okay, so here you can see this is exactly the same caliper and brake pad that we had on the other Toyota. This is a Tacoma, that's a Tundra. Just comparing the two, you can see the brake pad is here. Okay, the brake pad backing plate is here, which is just a big thick piece of steel. You never want the brake pad to wear down to the point where the backing plate touches the rotor. That's why you want to be good about checking your customer's brakes. And it looks like these brake pads are somewhere between the thickest one and this one, and this one's 10 and this one's 12, so they're 11 millimeters thick. Perfect. So now we have a measurement, and that's how you do that on the car. Pretty simple. Some cars are harder to get to than others, but that's just part of the game. If you get used to checking maybe 20, 30, 40 cars, you can start to look at a brake pad and go, okay, I can see with my mirror in this tight spot that that brake pad is probably around that size. You can do that, but not right away. You have to sort of get your game going, okay? All right, so that's our brakes video. Email me if you have any questions.